Well, hello there, and welcome to Sickbay. I'm your buddy, Admiral Teague, and as you can see, we have an interesting collection of replicants here for you. We have discovered that there is a hole in time where people from the 21st century are being replicated by the Amazon server when people order the Rings of Power. And that is because, my friends, the Amazon computer is somewhat self-aware. It may be Skynet, but here's the situation. We've got most of the replicants here. They are replicants of the actors. The replicants of the writers are in the brig. We are now in a special medical holodeck where we are helping them recover from the mistreatment at the hands of the writers, or now former writers, of Rings of Power. And they have some shocking revelations that I'm going to share with you now. First of all, they have separated the cast into two different groups. They have kept Morfydd Clark with Ben Walker and Charles Edwards, who plays Celebrimbor, and they're in one storyline. And I think the deal is here, they don't want people mixing and matching between groups because they probably told different people different stories, and they don't want them getting together saying, I made this, you made that, they told me this, they told you that. Oh wow, I was supposed to play you and you're playing what I'm playing. They didn't want any of that. They also didn't tell anybody anything until the very last minute, giving them less than what I would call minimal time to prepare, especially for Tolkienian part. While Viggo Mortensen was able to play Aragorn in just a 24-hour preparation period, none of these people are Viggo Mortensen, and that's no insult. I'm not trying to put anyone down. That just speaks for itself. Viggo Mortensen, superior actor, superior intellect. Anyway, let's see what's going on with our pals, the replicants, right now. I think it's safe to wake them up. Let's give it a try. We have Ben Walker, Morfydd Clark, and Charles Edwards, our elf cast. I'm going to let my head of security take this interview.
First, I would like to just get to know you.
I don't think they heard you. Let's say it again.
Catherine Brewster.
No.
Ken Waller.
No.
John Kimball.
They're not.
How did you know?
We don't.
First, I would like to just get to know you.
That's a much better start than yesterday. I want to thank you, Chief. You're learning. All right, let's see what these guys have to say. And there's some copyrighted music blasting at us. What can you tell us about the audition stories for the Rings of Power?
God, there was a lot of secrecy around it.
There was
Each of your
lot
auditions
of
like?
secrecy. Wow.
Very straightforward.
This is Charles Edwards.
I submitted a tape, and that was it.
That was it. Would they have done that to a female actress? Would they have gone that easy on her? They just let this guy walk in and take the role. Now, I'm adopting their philosophy. Me personally, that sounds sloppy, but whatever. Let's see what they did for everyone else.
That's the story.
Here we are.
That's all there is to it. Ben Walker's laughing. It was very easy.
It was quite a quick turnaround. I hear others were less quick.
Ooh, what does that mean?
But in my case, that was it. I have no associated amusing story or insight.
It wasn't a lot of fun. I made a tape and I sent it off. I read the speech from, Independence Day. Who knows what he did, but that was it. He sent them off a tape and he got hired.
To that brief tale.
That's all there was to it.
Morfydd, how was your audition?
Let's ask
quite the
Morfydd
opposite.
Clark.
It was long, very.
Whoa. Hold on a second. So Celebrimbor just sent him a tape.
Your audition?
Quite the opposite. It was long, very long, and spanned 3 countries.
So they ran her around the world and auditioned her over and over after Celebrimbor, who had almost as big of a part, got it off a tape.
Started off in London, then went to LA, and then finished off in Barcelona with Jay and all his crew.
Wow, who has a different standard for women? Us or the writers of the Rings of Power, or the now former writers of the Rings of Power?
And there were kind of 2 scenes, one of which was kind of with Elrond and one of which...
Yeah, she had to act the same scenes over and over and over, and she was so burned out on them that she was glad...
Like, there was such relief when that scene was finally shot.
She was just glad to have that scene over with. and she felt like the audition was finally over then. So she never felt like she owned the role, and that's on the directors, really, because she is such a young actress, and they told all these people nothing.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
That is some nervous laughter if I ever heard it. By the way, I've seen about half this tape, so at some point we're going to enter like the unknown country with this. But I've seen some of this, and I've seen some of the end. But yeah, there's a lot of this I haven't. And I got to tell you, I'm a little surprised that they let these actors say that. But how much could they control them? Part of this was conning them. These people were lied to too.
Mine was, I sent a tape, and then months went by. I completely forgot
Ben Walker.
about the job, and they called me up and they were like, so we're going another way with the other character, do you want this
He didn't read for the character he ended up playing.
one? And I was like, yeah.
I think someone walked off on that, someone with a better talent agent and someone who'd seen Star Trek Discovery.
I mean, but also, yeah, I was nervous about it.
Of course.
I always tell the story about JD calling me from the hospital.
This story is insane.
He was kind of pitching the job, and you know that this is going to be a huge time commitment, not only for you.
Right, so he's talking about the obvious fact. They're going to move to New Zealand, and it took them 2 years. They filmed all 3 Lord of the Rings movies in about that time, but we got 1 season of this.
But for your family, and I wasn't really, I was hesitant.
Yeah, because, you know, your kid's going to have to go to school in New Zealand, and it's going to be hard on him, and you're going to be hard-pressed for time while trying to be a dad. You gave up a lot to do this, and look what they did with your time. Your talents were wasted. I'm sorry, Ben.
He had called me, and I could hear that he was someplace loud, and I said, I can't hear you.
And listen to JD's sense of urgency, at a time when he should have been doing anything else but working.
He said, I'm in the hospital. I said, are you okay? He said, yeah, no, I'm fine. My wife just had a baby, but...
How many kids is that he didn't even care? He's working through it? She just had the baby. He doesn't want to make sure it's okay. He doesn't want to spend time with his new child. He's thinking about money.
The thing about Tolkien that I want to encapsulate, like, he was so focused and so dead.
And Ben Walker, we saw this in the last interview. He's trying to pull this story away from Tolkien and pull his performance away from what Tolkien wanted from King Gil-galad, because he's had time to realize, and he's not an idiot. He's been reading, and he just saw this, a little while ago. Everyone's in shock, and they've been told they're under attack, and he, among all of them, seems to feel like maybe there's nothing to that. And Charles Edwards, seems to not care.
Dedicated that it completely pacified any of my nerves.
So when he called me from the hospital after the birth of his child to say that he wanted to make this show, I thought it was normal. Now we cut to another group of our cast members, and what we have here is Bronwyn, our Harfoots, the actor who played Theo, the actor who played Arondir, and I'm not positive who the rest of them are. It could be Adar. I just don't know. We'll find out as we go. They do not put the names up on this the way, Hey You Guys did, our friends over at Stream Wars, and this link will be in the description.
I found out, I did a self-tape. I did one self-tape.
This is Sarah Zwangabani. She played one of the Harfoots.
For the role, many months before I actually found out that I had the role. So I obviously went about my life. And then I
Same story.
got a phone call on a Thursday, I remember, asking if I could be in New Zealand on the Sunday.
Wow. There are rush takes and stuff, but, give her a week, give her 2 weeks, get her life together. You guys had all the time in the world. You sat around on these audition tapes forever. You didn't take a second look at anybody except Morfydd Clark. And, maybe you should have had a Zoom interview.
To start the job. And so I was like, oh, okay. And so then I flew to New Zealand and I had 2 weeks before being on set to kind of...
Out of all the roles, I guess Hardfoot, 2 weeks, maybe you could pull it off, but that's not fair to an artist.
Learn all about the world. So I knew very little, and...
Everybody wants to say they didn't read the most highly sold books of all time. And I think that we can see right through that and know they read the books and know that this is not very Tolkien-like, and they do not want to get incinerated in what they can feel is a growing backlash. And maybe they realize that they are being used as meat shields by the writers.
I didn't even realise when I got the scripts that I was in them. I got the first
Imagine that. That's contemptuous to this poor actress.
2 episodes and couldn't see the name of the character I'd auditioned for.
Think about that.
And so I went, oh, okay, I'm not in the show yet.
How do you even begin to form a basic idea of how you would approach that character if you don't know anything about it?
And then someone said, no, this is your character.
So this thing that you were reading, we should have directed you a little better, but, this thing that you didn't know was going to be you, that's you, go be that.
So I discovered very much on the fly, but it was great because it was very exciting.
She discovered on the fly, but it was great. And on this set, the term very exciting is code word for I was horrified.
I said, no, this is your character.
Wow.
So I discovered very much on the fly, but it was great because it was very exciting then. And far less stressful for me, I think.
I was horrified. It was far more stressful for me
than some of my other castmates.
It was worse for other people. You just told a horror story.
So you are Marigold Brandyfoot.
That's right.
That's who she plays. Now, I think that Marigold Brandyfoot is Sardoc's second wife? I just don't know. I'm not Sardoc's second wife. Largo's second wife. So, okay, yeah, I think I recognize Largo Brandyfoot in the back there, but that's about it from her. And now we're going to go with Nazanin.
Nazanin Boniardi. You are...
That is quite a name, and I can't get it out. I'm very sorry. But what's what the interviewer said?
It's stressful for me, I think, than some of my other castmates.
So here's the name.
So you are Marigold Brandyfoot.
That's right.
That's her character. Now here's the next actress who plays Bronwyn.
That's correct.
Yes.
Now, Nazanin Boniardi, you are...
That is quite a name. Nazanin Boniardi. I mean, maybe she's an American, who knows? But it's an unusual name. Boniardi, not so much, but Nazanin, I haven't heard that. Has that got something to do with Nazareth? I mean, we have no control of our names, and maybe someone else had her name in SAG. I'm not mocking it. It's just does not sound familiar.
Bronwyn, what was your audition experience like?
Okay, so this is a created character she had to play, so she had less to go on than everyone else, and I have to imagine the writers loved that, because she couldn't say, wait, my character wouldn't do this or that, like some of the veteran actors who were not told who they were playing until there was no time to research it were.
Months long. I think my first one was April 2019, and that...
So the women, much more difficulty than the men. 2 of 2 men, no problem. 2 of 3 women, multiple auditions.
Spanned 4 auditions. 3 of them were taped because I was traveling the world for various other things. And then one of them was in person when I was in London.
So I don't know. I mean, they said that we have a problem with women, but they're making these women work, I'd say 3 times harder for the same money. That's worse than the usual 25% less. These people are getting 250% less for the same work.
And then months later, something like October, I got a sort of a Zoom call with the showrunners.
At least they had a Zoom call with her.
And then a month after that, I found out that I have to move to New Zealand.
Wow, how much time did you get?
3 weeks later, and we all had pseudonyms.
They gave her a little bit of time, a little more time than they gave poor Marigold, but I'm gonna bet someone backed out of that part. And then the characters that they were reading for, they all had pseudonyms, so they may have thought this was an original, original take on Tolkien with new characters. They didn't know.
At the time, so we didn't. When we auditioned, we didn't have our actual character names.
That's not going to help anybody.
But there were actual sides that existed in the show for me.
All right, so she didn't know anything about what was going to happen with this, but she was actually in the show, which I can verify is actually true. It's some shocking stuff, though.
And very excited. I was very, very excited, but it was.
I was horrified. I was very, very horrified.
Daunting. I had to move very quickly.
So after she says she's excited, she says what you would say after you said, I was horrified. I had to move very quickly. I was daunted. I had to quickly relocate.
Relocate to New Zealand.
So they just upended these people's lives for this show.
Right, Tyro, am I getting this right? Buhafadin?
Yes.
Brilliant, I got that right.
Tyro, okay. It's not, okay, that Tyro is the actor's name. He played Theo. You can see him on the end in the sort of gray, urbanish camouflage. And let's see. Oh, let me update this browser for you so you can see the cast members from the other part of our story. And they are also just as nervous. They know just as little about what the hell just went on. And I just describe Nori Brandyfoot, actress on the far right, just went first. Then in the middle we had Bronwyn, and now we have Tyrio, whatever his name is, who plays Theo, and he's going to give us his insight on what it was like to play this exciting and amazing character.
So tell me about getting your role, Theo.
Tell him.
And
Tell him about being
what was that
Theo.
like?
Yeah, I mean, it was long, and funnily enough, my older brother Tobias actually got the audition.
By the way, they're playing some weird music here, so I have to break in on them a little more often than I would.
Got the audition for the role before I did. So
here's the thing, he saw his brother prepare, and he got a chance to prepare as well. He knew kind of more about what he was going into, and he nailed it, and also they wanted a younger person, but he had a little prep. Notice the difference.
week beforehand, they'd sent the audition being like, yeah, we want to look at Tobias for this role, and he put down a self-tape, and then...
So his brother sent in a tape, and then like a week later, like...
Because he's younger. And then I put down a tape.
And that's all he had to do as well. He didn't hear anything for a while, and then, you know, what happened?
That's fire.
He's right here, actually.
That's how much care was given into it. He didn't hear anything for a while. They called him up, like, yeah, he just said it.
And then, yeah, didn't hear back for a while, and then all of a sudden found out I was shortlisted. That was exciting in itself.
Sounds like they were trying to get other people to play this role. Now, Theo didn't do a bad job, but he was in a terrible role. All these people are inaccessible.
And then it all moved really fast after moving so slow. And then I found myself in New Zealand doing a screen test a week later.
Wow, so he's in New Zealand. He still doesn't even have the part. These guys really, they just ran people around the world, and it sounds shambolic, doesn't it?
Later, I was moving to New Zealand with my mum.
So he had to leave wherever he was. He wasn't old enough to, he's not an adult. He might be 18 now if he is. He could still be 16, but the point was, his mom had to go with him. I don't know what about the rest of the family, but, you know, so here he is, new environment, new school, new continent, new hemisphere. And he's a kid.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
That's my son.
That's Bronwyn just chiming in that's her
Smith,
TV
you are
son.
Largo Brandyfoot.
Dylan Smith.
How did you go from not being Largo Brandyfoot to being
This
Largo?
interesting stuff.
Well, I think I went from being a dad,
He went from being a dad,
a new dad, to getting cast as a dad, and suddenly having so much to tell. And
So, same story here. They didn't tell us a whole lot. Next thing we knew, we were in pretty deep. The show was not the showrunners were not up front with their cast. And this is not exactly Entertainment Tonight they sent them on to talk about it either. These are streamers. So, enough from him. Let's skip forward to one of the questions as Largo Brandyfoot wraps up here.
It was super exciting to play.
It was super horrifying.
If I may leap to Ismael Cruz
Cordova, yeah. This guy did an okay job. He's nothing like he comes across in person, at least from what I've seen before.
So can you tell me about becoming an elf?
They made me into a Romulan by sticking on some spiky ears, and that was the end.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got caught in a mixture of like pride and resentment.
Yeah, he really had a number done on him by the writers and directors. I think they told him a few things that were quite turbocharged and only just so true.
Like people were like, it was just one audition. I was like, well, good for you.
So again, the man, one audition for this key role. Key role. And by the way, that was their microphone overloading. I got to turn them down.
I'm proud of you. Good for you. I auditioned. I mean,
wow.
My audition process was kind of as long as Nazanin's.
Mm-hmm.
So he seems to say he didn't do a whole lot of auditioning, but some more than some other people.
Actually, what, 7 months, 6-7 months, something like that.
Okay, he didn't audition more. It was just a long time frame between the audition and hearing back.
I started auditioning in New York. I was telling this story earlier.
I thought I detected a bit of New York in his accent.
Realized that most people did not know it was for Lord of the Rings because it was the...
Okay, so again, they're not telling the cast. This has been confirmed by every single cast member who's made mention of it.
Entitled Amazon project, but I think there was a typo in the email, the first email that I...
So they didn't even send out their emails to randos. He's still a rando and he gets it the right way.
got. And then the second one they had corrected is that Untitled Amazon project, Lord of the Rings.
Jeez, so they told people it was Lord of the Rings and it's not.
and then the second was like Untitled Amazon project. I was like,
right. So Ishmael Cordova, he's got a lot to say here. He goes for over a minute. Let's see if we can get a few more seconds.
So I auditioned in New York. I got that audition. Then I was in LA.
Okay, so he did have a little more of a laborious process, and he's wrapping up
Email
here.
being like, listen, you're wonderful, but like it's not going your direction.
Wow, I didn't expect to hear that.
And then by that point, I kind of let it go. I found myself.
All right, so he wasn't preparing for it anymore.
In New York, and they actually came back and said, actually, we're gonna screen test 5 guys, and...
Oh, wow.
You're...
Sounds to me like another part fell through with someone else who maybe found out these are the Star Trek Discovery bad robot, bad reboot people.
Well, we'll give you a chance, something like that, and I went to New Zealand with...
I hear others will...
The desperation you have to go all the way to New Zealand, they really were not too cool to their cast. So he went to New Zealand.
But I cared a lot, and then I went and did the final screen test. And
wow.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Wow.
Unfair. Oh, and now a crowd favorite, ladies and gentlemen. We have a few words from Princess Disa, who was fine in the role, but was a firebrand during publicity. Because it looks like we're about to cut away from this group of people who have had their say as much as Amazon wants to let them have. Okay, now we all know what Princess Disa looks like. I was not aware that we were going to see her in this. Like I said, I only was able to watch some of it. It's hard to take without frequent pausing. So Princess Disa, nice enough person. Let's see what she has to say.
Story of the audition is that I auditioned for this role 2 days away from giving birth. So.
All right, that's not that crazy, but it is a little bit. This is the second time that birth has come into this.
So, yeah, my daughter was very much engaged, and there were many.
I guess she means the baby was kicking while she was auditioning. I don't know.
Midwife on speed dial saying, "Please don't go into London."
I guess that makes sense.
But there I was, and I remember Jane.
They weren't particularly gracious to any of these cast members. It's almost like it was down past the last minute and people walked, isn't it?
Iona having to kind of haul me out of my camera test chair, and they
put this poor woman through that. They couldn't give it a week. Now she didn't have a large role. Princess Disa was. You could have recast that one on the fly. You had to be this mean. McKay and
they were so grateful for me to be there. I then got the role, was gifted this.
I don't know if you consider it a gift anymore.
This amazing role when my daughter was then born and she was just 5 days old.
So you had to go and work on this with a newborn?
And we travelled to New Zealand when she was
10 days old?
10 weeks old. And there was a load of...
All right, it's a little different, but wow, I feel bad for everyone else on that plane who had to travel with an infant. Let's hope it was a chartered flight.
Images of Disa's incredible costume.
I guess her costume was okay. None of the costumes were all that great, but we've heard a lot of people make mention of costumes. I think that they knew that was a deficiency. And let me tell you something, it probably did feel good to get fitted, and maybe they collaborated with these people a little on the look, so they're probably proud of it, but you know, the Wheel of Time had the same costumes, but newer.
And you'll see kind of little panels and stitching to the side, which were all removable. So in between takes, in between scenes, I was able to feed.
I don't know why we needed to know that after we heard the torturous story of how inconsiderate they were. They let you breastfeed at work. I mean, that was controversial 40 years ago. There's nothing wrong with breastfeeding. There's nothing wrong with breastfeeding at work. Everyone should be cool and respect it. At the same time, if you're doing it, maybe you want to get away and be in private. It's up to you, though. I mean, I'm not the authority on this one, but I would just say this. She's breastfeeding an infant on set. I mean, I'm not saying they should have passed her over because she was pregnant, but a little more consideration. And how about some breaks? I mean, this does not, I mean, I don't know. Maybe a midwife can chime in. Maybe someone who knows more about this can chime in. But this does not sound like they're letting her be the best mom. Just again, much harder on the female cast members than they were on the male.
My baby and then shoot straight back on. Like, gosh. You know, that's what this...
A newborn deserves better. And I don't blame you, Sophia Namvat, whose name I remember, because you were so prominent in PR. And I don't blame you. You needed this opportunity, and this would have made for a better future for this baby, who probably won't remember these weeks of their life, but maybe they'll be affected by it. I'm not a psychiatrist either. I'm just saying, doesn't sound like Payne, McKay, and Weber ran a very nice workplace as far as, you know, all right, you can do what the law says you're allowed to do. I mean, big deal. So I lit a torch on stage and they made me leave because you can't have open flames on stage unless it's approved by the production. I mean, that's basically what they're saying. I started smoking a cigarette between takes. They told me to take it outside.
Role is representing. There's far more than what we see on screen for me to be.
She has just realized that all the things she said the other day about her part mean very little because she has been extensively cut down in whatever role she had. And that is probably more the shambolic editing process, but I think that the writers are liars.
Be able to play her, and huge kudos for the team at Amazon for
what?
Supporting a new mother in this way.
I don't know. We can all judge for ourselves whether that was supportive. It sounds, I don't know. Maybe it's a wash.
That I could do it all.
I'm glad that she got a chance to be in this production. I don't know if it helped her the way she thought it would. Again, there's more music. All right, this is just dialogue from the show. We can get past this. They're trying to show off some of their CGI to get away from some of the things that the cast can't tell them, and the fact that the cast has been kept in the dark. And what we're seeing right now is they're showing the Hardfoots, you know, kind of sneaking around. And one of the things that I laughed at was when they had like moose antlers on them. Because, I mean, even though a moose is pretty big, it's more or less a prey animal. You're going to attract, like, not just predators, but the worst predators to think they can take down a moose. So not a lot of thought put into this. They didn't even call their friends who hunt. More of their music and more of their show. We're just seeing, before the king! And we're seeing Galadriel ice climbing there. Before the Fellowship! Yes, this all happened first, and we're seeing Arondir catching arrows out of the air like we saw in Fellowship of the Ring. Before the ring! We're seeing the meteor that showed everyone in the wrong place on the map, and the cavalry charge that showed everyone charging from day into night, from night into day, to try to correct the mistakes. And then we're seeing their one big battle scene that they had. They're showing that over and over, the big battle between the elves, orcs, and Sauron of the Last Alliance, where Galadriel's brother dies in this production. And they show that a few times as though it was more than 5 or 6 seconds. So a very defensive Amazon Prime product here. These replicants have been very, very poorly mistreated. Security, what do you think?
I would like to just get to know you.
We've gotten to know them. What do you think?
Los Angeles.
They were in Los Angeles for a while.
You lack discipline.
No, I don't think they had a chance to even use discipline.
Lamansky. Leave me alone.
All right, I wouldn't want to talk about it anymore either. It was kind of painful to hear what these poor replicants have been through. And let me tell you, as we find out more and more about the ways of Patrick McKay, J.D. McCain, Leslie Van Houten, or Leslie Weber, whatever her name is, we are finding out that the things they say and the way that these writers from the Rings of Power behaved, and here they are in all their glory. The way these writers treated their cast, they were much more fair to men than women. They auditioned men far less. They were much harder on women. Morfydd Clark had to travel through like 17 different time zones on this one. And then everyone else just sort of got a last minute call to run out there and do it. Not the best way to treat people, not the best way to get any kind of help from your artists. Imagine if they did this with the music, and I am not so sure they didn't, because to be honest with you, I just think that these writers were very, very defensive about everything that had to do.
Has been detected. Threat has been detected.
Yeah, exactly. Everything was threatening to these fragile ego writers. Now, as shameless as they were...
You lie!
Yeah, they lied. As shameless as they were, they still managed to get themselves through 3 seasons of Star Trek Discovery, plus a 4th, and I think the 4th was broken up and filmed in such a way that they got 2 seasons out of it, because very soon we're going to catch up with a replicant of Sonequa Martin Green that's made it to our time. We are in the year 2282, give or take, because we have experienced some time anomalies ourselves doing this, but we are from the original Sainted Gene Roddenberry's continuity. We would be very pleased if you would like this video, and if you could join us, you would be helping out a new and independent voice here on YouTube, calling out bad creators, sabotaging their casts, undermining their stories, destroying their source material, and conning Jeff Bezos. They conned Jeff Bezos. Well played, but now you have nothing but a ceremonial job. Maybe you're going to be rich forever, but you'll never, ever have the respect of the other people in Hollywood, and you're finished. You're finished. J.D. Payne, Patrick McKay, you are finished. From Lost through Star Trek 09 to Star Trek Into Darkness, one of the stupidest movies ever made, and now through some of these other shows. Were they involved in Man Who Fell to Earth? Who knows? That failed too. That's another JJ joint. These JJ Abrams ski-ons. I don't know about the... I don't know what to do with the replicants of the cast. Let's just get them to a safer holding cell. In fact, let's just make sure they behave themselves. Give them a communication device. Give them freedom of the ship. They've been through enough. Now, as far as the writers, you know what to do, Chief. Now, please follow me back to the transporter room. Pay no attention to that. We're just dealing with some replicants here. And let me tell you, they are only replicants. The real writers are probably nice people. The real cast, I'm sure, are nice enough people in the real world on a day-to-day basis. Right, Chief?
I like that.
Yeah, I like it too. It's probably true. I think we should leave them alone and pretend like we don't know them. I mean, here's just some of the things that the writers said when we spoke to them.
Gebiet, feindfrei! Ich brauche hier Verstärkung!
They're absolutely defiant, and it was like they're from another time, another place, and another world. Well, we see their starship, and I think there's only one thing we can really do here. That's right. Target the warp coil. I don't want anyone walking away. Good work. All right, well, it's been a pleasure having you aboard my flagship, the Constitution class USS Excelsior. Please just follow me into the transporter room. This is my chief engineer, Mr. Scott. Send these people home safe. Please like and subscribe to this channel. It's your buddy, Admiral Teague. May the Force be with you. Energize. So what do you think, Scotty? They seem nice. You think these people will give us a like or a follow? I hope so too. Yeah, it's gonna be a tough mission fighting the war for pop culture, but with any luck here, we may have just gotten ourselves a few more recruits. I want to thank everybody who's listening to this when it premieres live. I will be hanging out in that chat and answering your questions, and anybody who comes through later. And if you could share this through Twitter, because right now the Admiral has a Twitter ban. All right, so it's been for real, and I hope you enjoyed this trip aboard my flagship. Take it easy, and we'll talk to you soon.